Hello, viewer number 421. What you're about to see explores the role of casting in character development. Whenever possible, consider what roles you have cast yourself in. You're watching Perception Culture.
It seems to be a brainwashing facility of some type. Wherever there's a brainwashing cult, there's always a power-hungry leader behind it all.
"2002 holds a special place in the hearts of many millennials. The first live-action adaptation of Scooby-Doo was released in theaters in June, and even though it was not favored by critics, it ranked #1 at the box office during its opening weekend. Along with its sequel, Scooby-Doo 2, Monsters Unleashed, the film has continued to grow a cult following to this day. But why? Well, the answer to this question lies in the popular media consumption habits of those who you probably already forgot were mentioned a moment ago: millennials.
Folks, this crowd is going crazy over Mystery Inc.
One of the reasons for this interest is simple to identify: the cast. In this episode of Perception Culture, we will explore the mystery of why casting Sarah Michelle Gellar, Linda Cardellini, Freddie Prinze Jr., and Matthew Lillard as the Scooby Gang was iconic for its time, and what we as an audience can learn from their performance.
There's a very logical explanation for all this.
Quick, tell me.
When casting an adaptation, you have to start with examining the source material. Scooby-Doo is a huge franchise, with numerous seasonal TV series, animated films, crossovers, and specials. However, for the sake of keeping this episode simple and clear, we'll set the scene by just looking at what started it all. Originally premiering in 1969, Scooby-Doo, Where Are You has garnered an audience through multiple generations that grew up watching the show's reruns. The premise of this original cartoon went through a number of changes while in development, but ultimately focused on a group of 4 teenagers and their dog who solve mysteries relating to the paranormal.
I think the popularity lies in the fact that Scooby and Shaggy are unlikely heroes.
Each episode was loosely set up in the following way: Fred, VELMA, Daphne, Shaggy, and Scooby are somehow diverted from what they are doing and end up in an unintended location. They find out that there is a supernatural mystery taking place and decide to investigate. The gang splits up. VELMA and Fred find clues, Daphne finds danger, Shaggy and Scooby find food, and the supernatural entity finds them. Eventually, they gather enough evidence to know that the ghoul they are investigating is fake, and they set up an overcomplicated trap. Playful chaos ensues. The supernatural being is apprehended and unmasked. The villain ends up being a rich person or landlord who used a disguise in order to cover up a scam or some other crime.
Yes, might have gotten away with it too. If it wasn't for these blasted kids and their dog.
It's a kid's first look at storytelling, mysteries, and I think that that's why it does so well, because kids love that stuff.
Thanks to the formulaic narrative structure, kids throughout many decades have been able to explore concepts such as deceit, mischief, and the supernatural with the safe knowledge that there's a human behind the ghoulish mask at the end of the episode.
It offered so much more than every other cartoon. It was so ahead of its time. It had a story. They worked hard to figure it out, and it wasn't gender specific. It wasn't a boys cartoon or a girls cartoon or any of those things.
It was a talking dog, you know what I mean? There wasn't anything cooler than that.
Now, if you were a filmmaker with the task of adapting something so ingrained in the memory of multiple generations of viewers, how would you approach it? An average feature-length film screenplay averages around 95 to 125 pages, which means that using solely the typical narrative structure of an episode of Scooby-Doo, Where Are You will leave you short quite a few pages. To fill that empty space, you'd need to not only come up with a plot and dialogue that will keep the audience engaged and stay true to the original piece of work, but you'd also need to appease the requests of the studio that is financing the movie in order to make sure that the film is a commercial success in the present day. In the case of the early 2000s films, The added elements of mysticism and real monsters keep the ending a surprise and the audience keyed in while still retaining the motif of unmasking. The main characters and their dynamic is further developed by exploring their insecurities surrounding being the heroes they can be despite past failures. These layers add depth to each character based on the most recognizable characteristics from the original cartoon. Mary Verneau, the casting director behind both Scooby-Doo films and probably many of your other favorite films, gives a glimpse of what she might have been considering in the casting process on the Acting Podcast, right here on YouTube.
When people are collaborating with you and you're doing a big, huge movie and you're about to cast like 6 people, it's like, what's the balance of those people, you know, from where they come from and who's up and coming and who's off a TV show and who does mostly movies. So the movie itself feels balanced. I think the word discovery is a really important word because I think when you come into an audition and you're connected to the material and you've thought about it, the background of the character and what makes them tick, and so that you're not just saying, I need to say this word this way. You can be fluid in your creativity in the room, because that's what's going to spark interest and you're going to find something that's like, oh my God, this is amazing, right?
Yeah.
Like somebody who's truly artistic in their approach. If someone comes in and they do a perfect audition, I wonder if that's all you're ever going to get.
That's out of context.
So, what did we end up getting?
Please welcome Freddie Prinze Jr.
Freddie Prinze Jr. started his acting career with guest roles on TV shows such as Family Matters and smaller supporting roles in the films To Jillian on Her 37th Birthday and The House of Yes. However, it wasn't until 1997 when he starred in the slasher film I Know What You Did Last Summer that he shot into the spotlight for teen audiences. In the film, Freddie plays Ray Bronson, one of 4 teenagers who accidentally hit a pedestrian as they are driving along a coastal road. They try to dump the body in the sea, but the man wakes up and attacks them before disappearing into the water. The kids escape and swear never to speak of what happened. A year later, a note appears, stating I know what you did last summer, and they try to find out who is behind it while a figure in a raincoat wielding a hook stalks them.
Everybody wants that good fright, whether it be from a roller coaster or playing hide and go seek or going to see scary movies.
The movie was a financial success, and even though it received mixed reviews, it earned $125 million at the box office to its budget of $17 million. The following year, Freddie reprised his role in the sequel I Still Know What You Did Last Summer with a similar premise. Even though the sequel received mainly negative reviews and didn't do as well at the box office, the franchise's success was enough to earn Freddie the lead role in She's All That in 1999.
Did he ask you to the prom?
Yes, I did.
It's bullshit.
Wait, someone asking me is bullshit?
I thought we were going together.
In this movie, Freddie played the most popular and accomplished boy in high school who agrees to a dare to make the unpopular girl into a prom queen after his girlfriend cheats on him with a reality TV star. For viewers born after the year 2000, it might be difficult to understand the scope of popularity the film had at the time of release, but perhaps the box office figures and other media it inspired will give a rough indication of its impact. The movie earned over $103 million to its budget of up to $10 million, and its plot was parodied in the 2001 teen parody film Not Another Teen Movie, which featured references to the most popular teen films at the time. However, being the male lead in such a highly popular teen romantic comedy might have a negative consequence. You will probably be typecast in your next project. Typecasting is a process where a particular actor is strongly identified with a specific type of character or role, with the exception of the sci-fi film Wing Commander, which was released only 2 months after She's All That. His following roles before Scooby-Doo all seemed to do this. Down to You, Boys and Girls, Head Over Heels, Summer Catch. Without going into too much detail about each film, it's pretty easy to describe these roles with the following. Freddie's characters are somehow accomplished or talented young men who are interested in a slim white upper middle class woman. There's some obstacle keeping the two apart, so he has to prove himself worthy of her. Maybe also throw in a complicated relationship with a parental figure and probably an early 2000s mandatory dance scene.
Man, we got beats like it was the listeners on Earth. You know what I'm saying, G?
No.
All four films were a flop at the box office, though they are not exactly the same. There are some differences in genre, humor, and theme. They all still place Freddy into the heartthrob category, but fortunately for us, this is the perfect point where we can start discussing Fred Jones. Portrayed wearing an orange ascot with a white sweater and blue trousers, Fred usually takes on the role of the leader in the group. Although generally well-intentioned, this leads him to give out tasks to the others, which sometimes means doing something they are afraid to do, such as Shaggy and Scooby needing to lead a ghoul to their devised trap.
In the cartoon, he would always just show shades of arrogance and just a touch of ego. And so as an actor, you see that as a huge opportunity to just make him as narcissistic as humanly possible.
In the first movie, Fred's enlarged ego as the spokesperson and leader of the team ends up being in the way of their working dynamic, and Fred has to learn the value of sharing the spotlight with his friends. In Monsters Unleashed, Fred faces his insecurities surrounding feeling scared and powerless, but eventually discovers that showing his vulnerability to his friends gives him strength to face his fears.
Talking is for wimps.
Can't fool me with that macho facade. You're just afraid to show your sensitive side.
Prince's ability to heighten Fred's arrogance for comedic effect while displaying vulnerability in sensitive moments allows audiences to enjoy the two-dimensional character of Fred in a more nuanced way, as the cartoon shows him as a stoic character who doesn't have many weaknesses and is always in control of the situation.
Look, I'm a man of substance. Dorky chicks like you turn me on too.
Prince's highly popular heartthrob movie star persona made him an ideal candidate to bring Fred alive. His self-aware comedic performance, coupled with the public's perceptions of actors who fall into a typecasting cycle, gives a humorous and lighthearted take on Fred's character, which ultimately reveals to young impressionable Scooby-Doo fans the most important skills of any true leader: the ongoing openness towards deepening one's perception of oneself and the willingness to uplift others for the greater good regardless of personal benefits.
It all started when I was giving a speech on my new book, and I really think the Velmster should take it from here.
Please welcome Linda Cardellini.
Since starring as Velma, Linda Cardellini's wide range of acting skills have garnered wide praise in TV dramas like ER, Mad Men, Bloodline, and Dead to Me. But what made her stand out in the eyes of the Scooby-Doo casting department in the early 2000s, when her filmography was not tightly packed with roles on huge productions? Cardellini showed a passion for acting early on by taking part in school plays and taking drama lessons. In 1996, while she was in the process of completing a degree in theater arts, Cardellini got her first big role in the main cast of Bone Chillers, a Saturday morning live-action children's horror fiction series. The IMDb synopsis of this show describes it as the spooky, sometimes even funny, misadventures of a gang of schoolchildren who encounter any number of strange happenings in their school and hometown, and this is certainly the simplest way to describe this show.
Hey, where have you been all this time? Well, watching you guys' backs.
Characterized by surreal special effects and wacky storylines, the show positions its teenaged characters in a similar sphere of existence as Scooby-Doo, in the middle of mind-bending mystery and the complexities of growing into and accepting adulthood normalcy. In the following years, Linda had numerous guest roles in well-known TV sitcoms such as Third Rock from the Sun, Clueless, Kenan and Kel, and Boy Meets World. She also appeared in a supporting role in the 1997 cult classic teen comedy Good Burger as Heather, a mentally ill patient who takes a liking to Ed.
Hi,
I'm a psychopath.
I'm Ed.
Though these gigs were mainly minor roles, playing supporting characters gives young actors the opportunity to develop their acting skills in a professional setting and in Cardellini's case, introduce themselves to a very valuable audience, children and teenagers, which also brings us to the ultimate cult classic that solidified Linda's place in the hearts of many fans. In Freaks and Geeks, Cardellini plays Lindsay Weir, an intelligent teenage girl who joins a friend group called the Freaks for their rowdy and disobedient behavior. Even though the series was canceled by NBC before the first season finished airing, it still managed to gather a large cult following and launch the acting careers of many now-known actors who are part of the ensemble cast. The portrayal of Lindsay showed audiences and casting directors alike that Cardellini is a force to be reckoned with. Lindsay's storyline brought out the complicated intricacies of teenage girlhood, and Linda was able to create a nuanced performance while balancing the deep conflicted emotions of a teenager with the rest of the cast's performances.
How'd things go with your dad? Was he pissed?
No, not at all. He was really happy that I stole his car and smashed it.
Hey, if it makes you feel any better, the party got moved till tonight.
You know what, Daniel? It doesn't make me feel any better because now I'm grounded, so I can't go to any of your stupid parties ever.
Why don't you just sneak out?
Why don't you just go to hell?
In an interview on Off Camera with Sam Jones, Cardellini revealed that for a long time at the start of her career she was cast into roles of teenagers due to looking younger than she was, and this is indeed the type of roles that you can find in her early filmography. But this did not mean that she was strictly stuck in appearing in films and shows for children. In 1998, Linda appeared in the horror film Strangeland, and in 2001, she appeared in the thriller The Unsaid. In both films she was yet again cast into the role of a teenage girl, but the dark subject matter of the films gave a new acting challenge. Unfortunately, neither film was a commercial success, but Cardellini did have a part in one of the most iconic scenes of the early 2000s.
Which would mean that you would have had to have found Mrs. Wyndham with a gun in her hand to make your story plausible. Isn't that right?
She's my age. Did she tell you that? How would you feel if your father married someone who was your age?
You, however, had time to hide the gun, didn't you, Chutney? After you shot your father.
I didn't mean to shoot him. I thought it was you walking through the door.
Now, how do we relate all this to the casting of Velma? When it comes to the character of Velma in the cartoons, she is portrayed as the smart one of the Scooby Gang. She is well-read and has good problem-solving skills that come in handy when they are solving a mystery or trying to catch a ghost. Funnily, her ability to see through mysteries thanks to her strength in logical thinking is contrasted by her bad eyesight. A running gag on the show is her losing her glasses, which renders her susceptible to the ghouls she is chasing.
My glasses. Oh, brother. Not again. I've got to consider contact lenses.
I think she's smart, she's independent, she's very capable. But as you see in the movie, that you don't really get to see in the cartoons, she's very sensitive. I think she's had a lot of things sort of bottled up and repressed, and you get to see a little bit more into her.
In the movies, Velma feels that the work she does goes unappreciated, as it is usually Fred as the team's spokesperson who takes most of the credit for apprehending the ghouls they face together. Indeed, her high intellect and ambitious nature leads her to leave the Scooby Gang and work for NASA at the start of the first film. Upon reuniting with her friends, Velma sees that they are able to hear her concerns when she speaks up and gains the recognition she had desired. In Monsters Unleashed, she faces an even more deep-rooted fear.
Velma, have you ever considered that maybe werewolves and ghosts are just distractions to keep you away from what really frightens you? Intimacy with another person. But I'm more comfortable in the world of logic and facts.
Velma ventures outside of her comfort zone and learns that she does not have to limit her experience simply to her intellectual pursuits. There is great strength in possessing the ability to calculate and theorize the most logical outcome to any situation, but it is through following your feelings and intuition that one is able to discover the full depth of one's abilities.
I mean, we tried to be heroes like you guys, but we're not, okay? We're just not.
It's funny. I always wanted to be like you guys. You guys are so free. You're never afraid to be who you really are.
Cardellini's portrayal of Velma pulls a lot from the source material as she embodies the cartoon character's voice and even running style, but it's Linda's ability to dig deeper into the emotional world of Velma that really brings out the human in her. Although Velma's posture remains stiff even throughout the many action sequences, Cardellini manages to encapsulate Velma's fears and vulnerabilities through just a single glance. Through Cardellini's casting and Velma's storylines in the movies, audiences are able to learn that it is through returning to one's strengths and facing the masked monsters within that one is able to cultivate an environment of growth and acceptance, which renders any monster powerless. A free perception culture subscription has been added to your cart. Do not ring this doorbell again to remove it, as you will pay the ultimate price.
What kind of jerk makes that his doorbell?
Dude, he just said we'd pay the price.
What could possibly happen by ringing a doorbell?
Here is Mr. Matthew Lillard.
Matthew Lillard started his on-screen career by hosting a skateboarding variety show on Nickelodeon in 1990, and by the time he snagged the role of Shaggy in Scooby-Doo, he had quite a lengthy filmography under his belt. From his early projects, Lillard is known for his role in John Waters' 1994 black comedy Serial Mom, where he plays Chip, a high school boy with a fascination for horror movies who finds out his mother is a serial killer.
Tell me the truth, Mom. Really, it's okay with me. Are you a serial killer?
Chip, the only cereal I know anything about is Rice Krispies.
A year later, Lillard starred alongside Angelina Jolie and Johnny Lee Miller in Hackers, a film that followed a group of high school hackers who are blamed for making a computer virus that would cause 5 oil tankers to turn upside down. While both Serial Mom and Hackers bombed at the box office, they have since become widely regarded as cult classics. In 1996, Lillard starred in the now iconic horror film Scream, Wes Craven's slasher, which gained notoriety for featuring characters who discuss horror movie tropes and clichés while being in one themselves, thrust Lillard into the limelight as he portrayed Stu Macker, one of the 2 killers who put on the ghost face costume to butcher their schoolmates.
You fuck!
Did you really call the police?
You missed your sorry ass.
My mom and dad are gonna be so mad.
Projects that followed were less critically successful and mainly cast Matthew in supporting roles or in an ensemble cast. It was only when he appeared in SLC Punk that he was featured in a starring role. The movie focuses on the daily life of Steve-O, a punk and college graduate, as he contemplates his anarchist beliefs while navigating his daily life in Salt Lake City. Lillard also made an appearance in She's All That alongside Freddie Prinze Jr., where he grabbed everyone's attention as a reality show star with unimaginably confident dance moves. This would be the first of many shared projects with Prinze Jr., as Matthew would also play supporting roles in Wing Commander, a science fiction film, and Summer Catch, a romantic comedy with a focus on baseball. Both films underperformed at the box office and didn't receive critical acclaim. The last film to be released before Matthew's debut as Shaggy would be 13 Ghosts, a remake of the 1960 horror film by William Castle. In it, a financially insecure family inherits a mansion that turns out to hold captured murderous ghosts within. Lillard portrays a ghost hunter's psychic assistant who finds a gruesome end at the hands of one of the ghosts. The movie received praise for its set design, but failed to gain the audience's favor otherwise. Since its release, however, it has once again gained a cult following. So how does all this relate to Lillard being cast as Shaggy? Well, Shaggy as a character is portrayed as cowardly in the early cartoons. He is seen wearing somewhat ill-fitting clothes and is often inspired to act thanks to his love of food and large appetite. He isn't always elegant in his endeavors, and usually his and Scooby's antics are framed in a humorous way. However, when his friends are in danger, he is able to show courage and athleticism in order to save them from harm's way.
Shaggy does not like anything that might kill him, eat him, or maim him for life. Shaggy is a big chicken. Both him and Scooby have that in common.
Regardless of his cowardly nature, Shaggy goes on quite a journey of self-discovery in the live-action movies.
I wish once, just once, I could do the right thing on purpose. You know, Scoob? I could be a hero and save the day.
Struggling to see himself as a hero and an integral part of the team, Shaggy learns that the absence of fear is not what makes a hero. Thanks to their tendency to frolic, Shaggy and Scooby are essentially the first responders of the team, scouting out mysterious areas, keeping watch, and alerting everyone of possible dangers that they come across. This, alongside Shaggy's undying loyalty to his friends, makes him the glue that keeps Mystery Incorporated together.
We're supposed to be heroes, man. So I'm gonna do what I always do. I'm gonna eat myself a Scooby snack, and I'm gonna save my best pal.
Lillard's performance as Shaggy is undoubtedly the most talked about when it comes to this cast due to him taking on Shaggy's voice and physicality so masterfully. The role requires a great level of energy and comedic wit, which is exactly what Lillard is recognized for. When looking at his work prior to Scooby-Doo, most roles feature high-energy characterizations mixed together with questionable morals and ambitions. Most of Shaggy's comedic relief comes from how he reacts to the situations thrown at him, and Matthew's ability to mix over-the-top movement and subtle emotions in each scene gave a new dimension to Shaggy's character that fans could not see in the cartoon. Matthew's performance as Shaggy showed that it's not just having guts that makes a hero, it's having a heart that makes you heroic.
Scooby's been eaten. I gotta save him. You stay here, I'll be right back.
No, Shaggy.
I've got to. He's like my best pal. Friends don't quit.
Please welcome Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Out of the main Scooby-Doo cast, Sarah Michelle Gellar had the longest-running career in acting. At the age of 4, she had already booked a role in the television film An Invasion of Privacy and a series of television commercials for Burger King.
I know what it is. It's unbelievable.
In the following years, she had minor roles in some films and TV series, and in 1992, Sarah Michelle was cast as the main lead in the teen drama Swan's Crossing. In the series, Sarah Michelle plays the daughter of the town's mayor who had a close but secret relationship with the boy next door who also happened to be the son of her father's political rival. In 1993, Gellar landed the role of Kendall in All My Children, the abandoned daughter of the soap opera's most popular character Erica Kane. In a 2014 New York Times interview, Gellar commented on her role, "I seduced my stepfather, and when he wouldn't sleep with me, I slept with a stable boy, cried rape, and my mother stabbed him with a letter opener. Then I went to jail for perjury, burned my parents' divorce papers, and locked up my little sister. I think that was all in the first week." She stayed on for 2 years and even won a Daytime Emmy Award for Outstanding Younger Actress in a Drama Series for the role. In 1997, she starred in I Know What You Did Last Summer alongside Freddie Prinze Jr. as Helen Shivers, a pageant queen who ends up as one of the killer's victims. In the same year, Gellar also had a supporting role in the slasher film Scream 2 as Cece Cooper, a sorority student who ends up being thrown off a balcony and murdered by Ghostface. Both roles fit neatly into the Scream Queen category, in which an actress portrays an attractive young damsel in distress who finds a gruesome end. However, Gellar didn't let herself be typecast into this role forever. In 1999, she played the role of Catherine in Cruel Intentions, a smaller-budget independent film which focused on wealthy teenagers with, you guessed it, cruel intentions. Catherine's dark, seductive, and manipulative character caught the attention of young audiences and won her MTV Movie Award for Best Female Performance and a Teen Choice Award for Choice Movie Sleazebag. The late 90s and early 2000s were a pretty great time in TV for the white female protagonist in a supernatural or fantasy drama. There were shows like Xena Warrior Princess, The X-Files, and Charmed, which all ran for at least 100 episodes and featured female characters with long, nuanced storylines. And it was also at this time that a show most relevant to this episode's narrative was airing. This show perhaps needs no introduction to those who have made it so far into this episode. Airing from 1997, Buffy the Vampire Slayer received popular and critical acclaim, with episodes receiving between 4 to 6 million viewers per episode during its original airings. Sarah Michelle Gellar starred as Buffy Summers, a high school student who finds out it is her destiny to keep good and evil in balance by slaying vampires. She does so with the help of her martial arts skills and friends, also lovingly dubbed the Scooby Gang, all the while displaying a high level of wit.
Very well, you eat this late. You're gonna get heartburn. Get it? Heartburn? That's it. That's all I get.
The show's creator Joss Whedon has stated that the reason he came up with the concept of Buffy the Vampire Slayer was due to his love of horror movies and constantly seeing the trope of girls getting killed in them. The purpose of Buffy was to empower female characters. Too bad it doesn't seem that this desire to empower women managed to show up outside of marketing purposes.
Excuse me, sir. Do you have anything to say for yourself?
In the cartoon, Daphne is depicted as beautiful and enthusiastic, although prone to finding herself in dangerous situations because she follows her intuition when solving mysteries. This aligns her with the damsel in distress stereotype, and the gang often needs to save her from being kidnapped and tied up by the villain, a characterization that's the opposite of Buffy, who did most of the saving.
People forget, I'm not Buffy. Sarah. I act like Buffy, and I can just as easily act like Daphne. Daphne is known as being the one that always gets kidnapped, the one that can't take care of herself. She's kind of flighty.
In the movie, however...
Now who's the damsel in distress? Me? Straight up.
The film version of Daphne struggles with her damsel in distress characterization, and after the gang splits up in the first movie, she learns martial arts in an effort to better protect herself from being captured by ghouls. This puts her in the position to fend off any ghosts and monsters in order to save the rest of the gang in extreme situations. Daphne learns that it is belief in oneself and one's continued persistence to step up when needed that are the most valuable tools in their fight against monsters. This character development modernized Daphne as a strong female character and gave young audiences a wonderful example of how female characters could play a significant role in the story's progression through their courage, self-confidence, and intuition.
Aha! You want me to go up to that castle.
Didn't you just say what I said?
But you're scary. And you knew I'd do the opposite of what you said. So you told me not to go to the castle, so I would go up to that castle where you set a trap to capture me. Unless you knew I'd figure it out. So you told me not to go up to the castle, so I would think that you wanted me to go, so I wouldn't go, just like you didn't want me to. Huh?
The portrayal of Buffy made Gellar the ideal candidate to elaborate on Daphne's character in this way on the big screen. After all, it was less than a year before the release of Scooby-Doo that an audience of over 7 million people saw her dig herself out of her own grave when Buffy was brought back to life after sacrificing herself to save everyone else in the previous season finale.
I think that's the amazing thing about Scooby-Doo, is that no matter what country you're in, everybody knows Scooby-Doo. Everyone knows Ruh-Roh. Everyone identifies with a dog. It's something that's iconic, not just in America. So it's overwhelming. It's always difficult to take a cartoon character and bring it to the screen because you're taking what's essentially a flat cartoon character and trying to make it human and give it human quality.
Gellar's strength in mixing drama, comedy, and action when bringing her characters alive in an ensemble cast put her in a unique position to portray Daphne. She was able to elevate the original 2D cartoon character to a courageous and multifaceted character, while balancing her performance with Cardellini, Lillard, and Prince Jr., and giving fans of Scooby-Doo a fun experience seeing Daphne kick some ghostly butts.
I've taken these jerks before, gang. Let's do it again.
Go along, Scoob!
Okay.
While the majority of this episode was focused on the casting of Fred, Velma, Shaggy, and Daphne, it is impossible to not mention the casting of the titular character, Scooby-Doo. The character of Scooby is brought to life through the art of 3D animation, a technique that was in its early stages when the film came out compared to where it is now. Even though the CGI is not as realistic as audiences are used to now, it fits in well with the expressive set design, and this makes the movies feel visually balanced and cartoon-like.
They have this like head on a stick that I'm sure at some point you've seen, and they do like these camera things so they can see where he is. So now I really try to focus on where they were with that. And like if I'm looking at you, it's right here, but if I'm looking past you, like mine looks different. And if there's nothing there, it looks like you're looking at something really far away, and you don't want that to happen. So you kind of have to trick your brain to see this little head dancing around.
The 3D animators did an excellent job capturing the physicality of a Great Dane even in action sequences, and Scooby's communication with the rest of the Scooby Gang is quite synchronized, considering the cast was pretty much acting around an empty space, where Scooby would be added later in post-production.
Scooby's going to have any number of expressions, just like a human actor does. And in order to do that, you have to build him from the ground up correctly. You have to build the muscle structure in his face, in his eyes, in his ears, so you can animate the intent of the shot and put Scooby in that mood, and in turn communicate that with the audience.
But it isn't just how Scooby looks and acts that made the character. The biggest reason why this characterization of Scooby has aged so well is thanks to the casting of Neil Fanning as the voice of everyone's favorite cartoon hero.
My name's Neil Fanning. I'm the voice of Scooby-Doo, and so what I'm doing on the set here at the moment is voice reading for the whole movie. Because Scooby's not there, the actors have nothing to act to, so I deliver all of Scooby's dialogue while we're filming, and it brings Scooby to the set.
Hollywood voiceover casting habits tend to be a bit of a hit or miss when it comes to blockbusters. It is easy to prefer casting a big star to any role regardless of if it's the best decision for the character, as this is what brings in big bucks at the box office. But in the case of the early 2000s Scooby-Doo movies, balancing the main cast consisting of well-known actors with less star power but the most skill in portraying Scooby is what enabled the film to age gracefully.
And you have to understand that when he got the part, like other people were auditioning. This is my favorite story. Other people were auditioning and they were moving forward with the casting of it, and he got wind of it, he got word of it late. So he kind of went and knocked on the casting director's office and said, you know, I would like to audition for the voice. And she said, we already have someone. And he started doing the voice, and she said, hold on a sec. And so she took him to the producer, and the producer said, well, we already have someone. But he did the voice. He said, well, hold on a sec. And then they were on a shoot. They were on a location scout, actually, out in the rainforest. And they took him to the director, who was on location scout. And I said, well, you know, the director said, well, I thought we had someone. And he said, no, listen to this. He did his voice. It sounds a lot like this. Right, ready, the monster. And they're like, we'll fire the other guy and hire him.
It is clear that casting decisions can make or break a movie, but here we can see that Mary Vernu's skill in balancing the public's perception of an actor, the business interests of studios, and the acting experience and strengths of the cast has helped to create a fun and spooky adventure that continues to capture the hearts of new fans possibly for many generations to come. So, the next time you find yourself facing a monster, play to your strengths, and envision yourself as the hero you can be, as you venture to unmask the next nut job in a Halloween costume.
Would have gotten away with it too, if not for your meddling son of...
This program thanks you for your sustained attention. Like, comment, and subscribe to
The monster turned out to be the best friend I ever had.